Ladies and gentlemen, the old Santa train, if California built it, it'd cost about $12 billion. Maybe, well, they'd start out with $12 billion and balloon up to about $800 billion. Who knows?
Exactly.
We've been following the tortured path of the high-speed rail project from the moment it was proposed. And as I've said a million times, in a perfect world, I'd love to have a high-speed rail link that goes from San Diego right up to the Canadian border. Why not? But that's not what we're getting. And what we are getting is a blizzard of, and I'm going to use an ugly word here, lies. Because the numbers that have been put forward on costs and projected revenues are invented. And it's tragic. And I think that as the last days of Governor Jerry Brown as governor of California are arriving and a new governor coming in, we do have a chance to hit the reset button. Will we? An important move in that direction, I think, took place when Democratic Assemblyman Jim Frazier, the chair of the Assembly's Transportation Committee, called for the resignation of Dan Richard, the chairman of the California High-Speed Rail Authority. Let's talk to him about it right now. Welcome to the show, California Assemblyman Jim Patterson. Good morning, Assemblyman. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Appreciate being with you.
Well, we thank you for coming on, and I thank you for speaking out on this, because this can't be a partisan issue, and this can't be, us versus them. This has to be, this is just such a tremendous amount of money. And if we get this wrong, it's something we will literally be paying for generations to come. The consequences are enormous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the place to start here is that the independent, nonpartisan auditor, Elaine Howell, last week delivered a damning audit of high-speed rail. I worked at trying to get this audit probably for the last 2.5, 3 years, faced a lot of silly opposition, but once the audit was done, we now know that there just simply is no high-speed railroad being built in the state of California. We had a hearing last week in which the executives of the High-Speed Rail Authority admitted publicly that they just are not building a high-speed rail between San Francisco and Los Angeles. All they are chartered to do now, by their own decision, is to build 119 miles of slow rail, essentially, between just outside Bakersfield and just outside Madera. And they admitted in the hearing that the likelihood is they are just simply not going to be able to connect this system up, and what they will leave behind essentially is a rump railroad from Bakersfield to Madera. This is utterly, I think, one of the most outrageous failures of a bureaucracy in the state of California, and you hit it correctly. And I don't throw the word lie around willy-nilly, but from the very beginning, I think this high-speed rail authority has been making it up as it goes along. When it has been discovered that it is not telling the truth and lying, they make excuses. They try to blame it on some other set of circumstances. The long and short of this is they are broke. The only amount of money they have left is to complete this short little 119-mile section, and by their own admission in the hearing, I had to probe quite a bit to get them to tell the truth, but their intention is to essentially deed billions of dollars worth of this construction over to Amtrak. This is where this is heading, and no one disputes it anymore, because Elaine Howell, the state auditor, caught him at it, demonstrated it, proved it. And it's no wonder now that Democrats are joining Republicans in saying the time is to end this, and somebody better be the adult in the room. Maybe it's the next governor, maybe it's the next legislature, who step up and say, this started with the people, it's going to have to end with the people. The only way this is going to get fixed in any serious degree is for the ruling party of this state and the next governor to go back to the voters and tell them, we messed it up. Do you want us to stop it, or do you want us to tax you another $100 billion in a variety of ways. There's no other choice here because Plan A has failed, and there better be a Plan B, or Central California is going to be ripped up from one part to the other. Streets are ripped up in our town. Overpasses are ripped up in our town. Over 1,500 acres of prime agriculture have been ripped up in our town. For what? A train that merely, I guess, upgrades with billions of dollars worth of overbuilt viaducts and overpasses, a rump railroad for 119 miles.
We're talking with Assemblyman Jim Patterson, Democrat from California, about what we have called alternately the crazy train or the insane train. And, you know, what you have described is what I believe was the cynical plan from Jump Street. I believe that this plan is right out of The Power Broker by Robert A. Caro. It's Robert Moses' plan from New York. Tear up make a big mess, spend as much money as possible.
Yes.
And that way you create political gravity from all the contractors and developers and wire lathers unions and concrete suppliers, et cetera, who are saying, you can't kill this project, look at the jobs. And you go to the voters and say, look, there's demand from the community to fill up the holes and put the roads back together. And then there's also the politicians that could say, well, if we don't finish it, we'll have wasted $9 billion. So it's a deliberate attempt to spend as much money as fast as possible to create the momentum to complete a project that is fatally flawed.
Yeah. Well, first of all, with all due respect to my Democrat colleagues, I am a Republican from Fresno, California.
Oh.
Mr. Frazier's the Democrat who joined me and sat with me at the
I apologize for the misidentification.
Hey, listen, with the outcome of this last election, maybe that's...
maybe you should switch, right?
But look, you hit this right on the head, and I'm going to tell you where the next shoe drops on this. The state of California has done this audit, and it is damning. And if anybody wants to figure out, as you have, by the way, that this was nothing more than an effort to throw as much Obama administration money as possible into a project where they knew going in they did not have the rights of way, they didn't have the property, they had no plan to relocate the utilities. Now, that's what took place some years ago. That now is under investigation by the Federal Railroad Association. The FRA is the federal counterpart to the California State Auditor. This audit began in April. It will be concluded pretty soon. And there are two damning findings in the California audit that's going to, I think, very likely be the nail in the coffin here. One, by their own admission in hearings last week, they spent this money full well knowing that they were not doing this according to the rules of the money that came from the feds, that they didn't have the property, but they were concerned that if they didn't throw the money out to the contractors, they would lose it. And they got caught, and that is going to mean billions of dollars being clawed back by the federal government, and I think the federal audit is going to demand that. Secondly, it's a time issue. They cannot bring this segment, this 119-mile segment, in on time because the feds have said you've got until, I think, 2020 to do it, or there will be a clawback penalty as a result. So stay tuned, folks, because the next shoe to drop, I believe, is going to be a damning federal audit that won't just say you did this. They have the power to claw back up to $3.5 billion. And when they claw it back, either California's going to have to write a $3.5 billion check, or the federal government is going to take that amount of money from our highway funds, maybe from our health funds, possibly from other federal project funds in the state of California. That's where we are today. It is an utterly failed project. that cannot be completed, that now faces a $3.5 billion additional cost because of the reckless and deceitful way that the authorities spent the original federal money.
Well, California Assemblyman Jim Patterson, thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations to Assemblyman Jim Frazier as well. And it's crunch time on this issue.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we will be hearing much more about this on Talk Radio 790 KBC. Thanks for being